Welcome to the Legally Speaking podcast, Path to Pupillage at the Criminal Bar mini-series, brought to you in collaboration with Red Lion Chambers. I'm your host, Rob Hanna, and I'm excited to guide you through this exclusive series focused on pupillage and entry to the bar. Over the next 8 minisodes, we'll feature insightful conversations with 8 distinguished members of the legal community. As we approach the 2025 pupillage round, we'll delve into all the essential advice for prospective pupils, from preparing for interviews to handling rejections and uncovering top qualities necessary for success in chambers. This series is designed to provide you invaluable guidance and first-hand experiences to help you navigate your journey to the criminal bar. So tune in, take notes, and join us on this path to pupillage. Let's get started. To begin with, Sailesh, please could you kindly introduce yourself?
My name is Sailesh Mehta. I'm a barrister at Red Lion Chambers.
And it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. And I really want to get into the heart of it, because we've had a fascinating series thus far, and I'm really looking forward to your perspectives today. So Sailesh, what's the most important piece of advice you could give to a prospective pupil in preparing for an interview?
I think it's useful for a potential pupil to any chambers that they should be fairly widely read. It's a given that they will know sufficient about the law and the recent developments in law. But more importantly, certainly from my perspective, is the interaction between politics and law, between what's happening in the country and the law, between social mores and the law. So much more widely read, I think, is what we would expect of a potential interviewee.
I like that. And I think it gives, you an edge, doesn't it? I think if you're just focusing on one aspect and you can showcase that you've really invested the time and effort, and you're continuously doing that in terms of the way that you're reading and understanding the world and how law fits into that and how things are changing, you're undoubtedly going to make yourself stand out. So thank you for sharing that. Now, not everyone is lucky enough to get straight to interviews. They do face some rejections along the way. So, what would be your advice to a pupil who perhaps gets a rejection, or indeed potentially multiple rejections?
Firstly, no one that I know, and I certainly in chambers, there are lots of successful people that I know. None of them got to where they were without failure, without hitting a bump in the road. And therefore, but there is a common theme amongst these people who've done well in life generally, and particularly at the bar. The theme is the ability to pick yourself up when down. The theme is to have some belief in yourself, have a feedback loop, because clearly something went wrong, whether it was your fault or someone else's, and always have that feedback loop to see if you can learn from that mistake. It's of course easier said than done, because every failure, every bump in the road hurts like heck. But the trick is, and this you find among some of the top sportsmen and women and athletes in the country, that they learn from whatever failure they've had. Tennis players are the best at it. They've just lost a point, but they then forget about it and focus on the next point. And then they win or lose, they focus on the next point. That's how it is, I'm afraid, in life, and particularly at the bar. And it happens in practice as well. You lose a case, you learn from it, you pick yourself up, you go on to the next case, and don't let the last loss or the last problem hold you back.
Yeah, and I really like that, and I love the sports analogy. And I was lucky enough to go to a very sporty school and was surrounded by sports stars that went on to represent the nation, and I couldn't agree more. I think it's just all experience, isn't it? Sometimes you will have a defeat or something, and you learn from that experience that can help shape you as you go forward. And you need to have a bouncy bum. You need to be able to kind of get back up, like you say, when you are set, maybe a setback, because if you do have that bouncy bum, then inevitably you will never fail. It's just a question of timing and actually achieving what you want to go on and achieve. So let's say
if I can tell you, I've for many years kept a shoebox full of rejection letters.
Yeah.
From chambers, from all sorts of things that I was doing, and I kept those not really to remind myself that these things happen in life, and that they happen, but you then pick yourself up and get over it. And it's only recently that we had a small bonfire and I burnt all the contents of that box to finally be rid of them. But I felt that along the journey, it was important to remember that despite the failures, you can still pick yourself up.
And that's the word, isn't it? Journey. You know, you all have your own journey. You all have your own story. You all have your own narrative. Run your own race at your own pace. Just because someone maybe gets their pupillage first time around, you know, that's a 1 in a million scenario. You may have to go through a few of those cycles, but you'll be richer for the experiences that you have, because, you know, failure is actually one of your greatest teachers. So again, thank you for sharing that. And I love that little story of your own, of keeping those rejection letters and then eventually setting fire to them. It's quite a nice little story there. Okay, let's say people do get the success. You know, they've applied, they've had the interview, they're in through the door. What do you think then are the 3 key qualities for pupils to then go on and succeed upon joining a Chambers?
I can tell you the qualities that I admire most amongst my colleagues and that I aspire to myself. The first quality is one that isn't that often found, and that's courage. What I mean by courage is have the courage to be honest with yourself. Have the courage in terms of that honesty to say what you're good at, what you failed at. Have the courage to fail as well. That's going to be part of your professional career at the bar. The success everyone loves, it's the failure that you've got to learn to deal with. Admit when you're wrong. The number of times when I have to admit to a client, I was wrong when I said you're going to get X sentence. In fact, the solicitor was right that it was Y sentence. Have the courage to admit if you're wrong to a judge. It is necessary, and often it's the best way to get over a particular difficulty. Have the courage to be different from other people, and particularly when you think that something needs to be done, that an opponent or a judge or your solicitor or your client have done something wrong. Have the courage to say no, you're wrong, or no, I will not put up with this. Even when you're fearful of the consequences, you're fearful of the judge complaining to your head of chambers, or you're fearful of the solicitor never instructing you ever again, or the client walking out. And therefore, that courage then translates itself into everything you do in court. So that's the first thing that I admire in my colleagues and new entrants to the profession. Discipline. Unfortunately, my view is, having seen some of the greatest advocates that the profession has, some old timers as well as young ones, discipline is necessary, because I don't think great advocates are born. I think great advocates are made. And one common theme amongst the best advocates in the profession is the self-discipline. They do work hard, they learn the brief, they know it inside out, so that when a witness suddenly goes off-piste, they don't have to scramble in their papers, they know exactly what to do. And therefore it looks as if they're natural advocates, but in fact, with every question, with every witness, there are hours and hours of work and self-discipline and preparation that goes with it. And so courage and discipline. And the third is belief. Remember, as an advocate, you are there because if you're prosecuting, your whole team, the officer in the case, your solicitor, believes that you're the best man or woman for the job. If you're defending, the client knows you are the only person between injustice, in their view, and the other side, which is a multi-million-pound machinery that is out to get your client. And therefore, a bit of self-belief is necessary. It shouldn't transcend or cross the boundary into arrogance, but self-belief is a necessary part of what we do and the job that we do.
Yeah, and I love all 3 of those for so many reasons. And I remember when I first set up my own legal recruitment firm, I wrote BTA, believe to achieve, you know, and I really did believe, you know, you have to have that within you. And I love that you talk around discipline. You know, again, a mentor said to me, there's only 3 things that really matter when you're going for something, and it's to prepare, prepare, prepare. And like you're saying there, those levels of detail, it will then come across as flawless and natural because you've invested that time, you've been disciplined, you've done the work, that when you go into those environments, you're ready and prepared, and nothing can chuck you off stance within reason. And then I also love that you talk about courage, because you absolutely need to do that. Be prepared to be brave and also having the guts to say I was wrong. Again, my late grandfather ran his own law firm, successful lawyer, said, Rob, a person who never made a mistake never existed. And I think, if you can get that into your mindset and you're very honest and noble and don't let them hold you back and you're transparent with people, then you'll actually earn trust and respect as you go the next day to then try and actually rectify whatever it may have been. Sailesh, this has been great. Really enjoyed kind of diving into your wisdom, your experience. You're highly successful. I'm sure people are going to want to know more about your career and indeed your chambers. So if they do, what's the best way for them to reach out? Feel free to share any website links or social media handles. We'll also share them with this special episode for you too.
Firstly, I'm always approachable in the sense that I can be contacted via chambers. Just Google my name. I'm also on LinkedIn. I've never said no to anyone that wants a mini pupillage. And so what's the worst I can do? The worst I can do is to say no, or I'm too busy. But you won't have lost anything. And in an ideal world, you'll have got me at the right time, and I'll say, let's have a coffee or let's have a chat.
And Sailesh, there's proof in the pudding. The fact you're very generously giving us your time today to give back, absolutely, we attest to that. And we're very grateful for your time. And I've really enjoyed hosting you today. So wishing you lots of continued success with your career and, of course, to all of Redline Chambers. But from all of us on the Legally Speaking podcast, over and out. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you like the content here, why not check out our world-leading content and collaboration hub, the Legally Speaking Club, over on Discord. Go to our website, www.legallyspeakingpodcast.com, for the link to join our community there. Over and out.